So, first story of episode 37.
Yes.
Remember we talked about the Lindsay Shiver case. We went through, and here's the thumbnail for that. We went through basically the whole case, the whole rundown. Well, at that time, we knew there was body cam footage of a 911 call to their home in Georgia. And we talked about like kind of the things that were said, how maybe this was her setting up some kind of victimhood ahead of time, because that was also the same day she messaged kill him to the alleged hitman. Well, since we covered that, there have been multiple 911 calls that have been released of both Lindsay and Robert calling 911 on each other and about other things, and the mother-in-law, Lindsay's mother-in-law, so Robert's mom calling 911. There's been more body cam footage that has come out, but I kind of wanted to go over the 911 calls.
Yeah, they're
because
strange.
There's some weirdness.
I know.
There's some stuff I just don't understand.
To me, I've only listened to his that he called 911 on. It sounds like their relationship was bad, then they were trying to fix it, then it was bad. Like, it goes back and forth, and that's what I gather from it, because when looking at it linearly, he makes a call saying that he doesn't trust her, essentially, and then it sounds like he does trust her. But I'll let you go through those. It
back
just
and
forth. Like they're gonna be together. They're not. They're gonna be together. They're not.
I guess would kind of make sense in a divorce. There
It
could be
seems
moments.
normal.
Yeah, there could be moments that you second guess it, and you're like, "Well, this is the mother of my kids.
Let's
I love
just
her.
try
I don't."
again.
Well, yeah, let's try again. Like maybe it's just a one-off situation where she cheated, and we can go
agree.
back to normal.
Yep.
But first, I wanted to go through the timeline of like when all of this happened. So February 18th is when Lindsay takes, and this is all this year, 2023. She takes a solo trip, okay? And then February 20th, Robert calls 911 saying, so literally 2 days after she took her solo trip, like she's back, he calls 911 saying he's afraid she's going to set him up, that she turned off his phone, and that something's going on between them, and he's afraid that if he goes to the house to get his stuff or anything, that she's going to try like scream or something and claim that he is like maybe abusing her,
Which
is what he's
smart.
kind of hinting at. And he just wants an officer there, it seems like, so that can't happen, that he can't be blamed for something he didn't do, because he's like, I'm not at risk of doing anything like this. He
shouldn't have called 911, but he did. Okay, so that's not a big deal. Whatever. That should be calling into the normal line into a police station, but whatever. For two, like, dude, that kind of planning. So she intentionally shuts off his phone, so when he shows up at the house, he can't call and give his version of events. She would be the only one able to call and give her version of events, so she could make it sound like on her line that he's coming at her. That is so crazy to me. That shows the level of manipulation and control in that situation for her. In my opinion, that makes her look so bad and so manipulative, dude.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting that it seems like they're having this like back and forth where he is feeling something's off, that he knows kind of, or has this feeling that she is like planning things maybe, and so he's counter planning her plans. I'm curious how he knew that, or if it was just intuitive.
With how manipulative she is, I wonder if she was like trying to seduce him. So she already had this plan that I need him close, right? So I'm going to do whatever I need to do to make him feel like we're going to make it work and we're going to work out, even though she has this guy on the side. This is all speculation, by the way. But so keep him close, and then while he's close, then she's able to create the narrative that he is a bad guy.
Yeah. I think it's very likely she was trying to set him up to look like a bad guy. Now, how that all intertwines with the murder for hire plot, I don't know yet. But I wanted to play some of the 911 calls a little bit.
Yeah.
February 18th, Lindsay goes away for a weekend.
So I think the 911 call starts here.
My wife just got back from out of town, and I believe that we're heading down the road of getting divorced. She just cut my cell phone off from Verizon. She called Verizon and had my cell phone disconnected, so I'm calling my mother's phone at the Verizon store because the only way I can get it back active is if she releases it. Mm-hmm. So I have to go over to our home, and with the way that she is behaving, I feel like she might try and call the police to try to set me up as soon as I get there. And I wanted to try to get out in front of it because I'm not a risk of, doing anything crazy. I'm just trying to go to my house, and if I need to pack my stuff and leave, I can pack my stuff and leave. But my kids are there, and, I don't want it to be presented as she goes and screams bloody murder, calls the police over nothing to try to have me carried off in a police car.
Yep. I know.
It's interesting how cool, calm, and collected he is in this.
Yeah. So I think there's something to be said about being a professional sports athlete, and I think in situations that might cause your average person a lot of anxiety and stress, it's probably where he's his best at. And I've thought that too, that maybe he's picking these things up because he has some sort of intuition that, a lot of times when you're on the field or in sports, like, you're literally trying to figure out what the other team is doing just by reading body language or paying attention to your surroundings, which I understand can be a super far out guesstimation of what could be going on here. But obviously he felt like something was going on, okay? And that something ended up being correct and being way worse than he even thought.
So I thought it was interesting. So the timeline. Let's go back to the timeline. February 18th was her trip. February 20th is this phone call. And then the family trip, which was the last week of March, okay? In this phone call, he says that he thinks it's leading to divorce after that solo trip, okay?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
To the Bahamas. So then April 5th, so last week of March, then April 5th, literally the beginning of the very next month, April 5th, he files for divorce. April 6th, she files for divorce.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what the hell happened? Like, okay, and this gets more interesting with the next phone call because it's about a USB drive that was delivered to his office, and it was mailed without a return to sender address, and then also put in his parents' mailbox, so her in-laws, like, it was just placed in there, not mailed.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to listen to that 911 call, and then, like, we'll go deeper into that, because that is the weirdest one to me. Go ahead. You're just going to say you agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do not have an emergency right now, but I was wanting to just kind of put you guys on notice of something that it's been kind of odd. Mm-hmm. Are you the right person to talk to, or do I need to be transferred to dispatch, or what?
This is dispatch.
Okay, so today at work, I had a letter delivered to me, and it was a USB thumb drive, and it didn't have a return to sender address or anything, and so I plugged the thumb drive in, and it had all these pictures of my wife on it from about 2 weeks ago when we were out of the country. And the same thumb drive was delivered to my parents' house about a mile away in an unmarked envelope. And it looks like, glancing through, that it was almost like a private investigator. But we have spoken with everybody that we know, and they've all confirmed that they don't know what we're talking about. Okay. So I don't know if we have like a potential stalker or some lunatic that's in town that has been following my wife around. But we just wanted to let you guys know it might do, or we would like it if you guys can maybe just make a couple of passes by our home tonight. We just kind of went through and checked the whole house ourselves.
So this is April 12th, okay, that he makes this 911 call, and it's literally, okay, so he filed for divorce April 5th.
Mm-hmm.
This is like, how many days? 7 days, a whole week after he filed for divorce.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
something could have changed. I'm telling you. She might have realized that in the state they're in, he filed for divorce first and has proof that she was with somebody else, which would then not allow her to get any money whatsoever. So if you're manipulative, get into her head, right? And the only thing that matters is money here, which I understand. I'm making a leap. I'm not saying that's who she is. I'm just pretending in this scenario, and the only thing that matters to her is that lifestyle and everything. Wouldn't your next step be to get close to him and fix things, because he was the one that initiated the divorce first? It doesn't matter that she did right after. He can prove that she was with somebody, which takes any monetary splitting in that state gone. It makes it gone. So
maybe something didn't change, though. Maybe he's a good guy, and he was like, this is the mother to my children. Even though we're getting a divorce, this is weird, and I'm worried for her safety and my family's safety.
Yep.
So, what was going on between them didn't matter at that time, because he was just concerned about their safety.
Yeah.
It could very well be that too.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't want to think that, but look, he's an adult. He's a grown man. He's clearly has a lot of care and concern for his family. Very family-oriented man.
Everything that I've seen from him proves that he's a good guy. Now, I know
agree.
that it's not the popular belief, like especially in the U.S. right now, we tend to grade and judge men very harshly in these situations, that it could be a flip of a coin or go either way. But I need evidence to do that, okay? I haven't seen any. I haven't seen none that show him as being manipulative, a bad guy, anything like that.
Nobody in the media has even alleged that, from what I've seen. For the most part, everybody's been on his side and anti-her, saying she's the manipulative, abusive one.
I've seen some comments. So I normally am the one responding to comments, not always, but normally. And I've seen quite a few comments alleging that she didn't have a choice, that he was really the bad guy that set this all up. And I responded to those comments and then heard this, and I was like, oh no, this is a total setup. This is creating a timeline, and this is very intentional and systematic in the way that she was doing it. She's a lot smarter than I gave her credit for.
See, I'm not convinced that she did this, that she set this up. I'm not convinced of that. I've heard some people, some experts saying that they thought it could be this, and then some saying they didn't think so. And I actually kind of more lean towards she wasn't setting this up this far ahead of time. That, I don't know. I almost feel like her decision for the hitman was impulsive.
No way. I don't. And here, okay, there's a couple different avenues we can go down here. She might not be the mastermind, you guys, but it could have been a group thing with her new boo, and his best friend, or however there's
And
the
they're all gonna
connection to
split
the
some money.
hitman. Yeah, right. And somebody came up with it, and she 100% was involved, because what I'm seeing here, looking at the timeline from the hiring a hitman perspective, is she was trying to paint an image of him being a really bad guy and her being a victim, okay? And then, right after that, she's trying to paint the image that she could have a stalker that is focused on her. And I think that's why all the pictures were focused on her and not the family, because she's supposed to be the focal point in this storyline. And a stalker would get jealous, would see him being abusive to her, and then end him. And that was her way out, is I was just a victim. I don't know who this guy is. I don't know anything to do with any of this. We had pictures show up. I was being stalked. He must have came and did this to my husband.
It's incredibly smart. And
I think
it
so,
is
too.
incredibly intelligent. And if somebody really was setting that up, it is absolute mastermind stuff here, okay? Clearly, they weren't smart enough to execute it properly, or it
He
was
was onto him the
literally,
whole time.
or it was literally just the universe that stopped it.
Karma.
Yeah.
I am terrified of karma, you guys.
Because
and if you
the
watch
investigation
us, you know this.
into the burglary is how they got caught. Because even though
I
Robert was
know.
suspicious, he did not uncover this plot. He had hired a private investigator, and all he found out was that she was cheating on him.
Yep.
That was it. He didn't know that she was planning to kill him.
Nope.
And the police in the Bahamas are who found out and told him by complete random chance of investigating a burglary at the bar that her boyfriend worked at.
It's so crazy, dude.
Yeah.
It is so crazy. And everything connects and makes sense, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I look at all of this, and I don't see question marks. I see a very intentional timeline being created, to the point where she probably wanted to be on that jet to take pictures to make it look like they were okay. That's what I was thinking after I've heard a lot of these too. Why did she want to be on the jet so bad? And at first I was thinking, well, obviously because it's a private jet, and who doesn't want to travel on a private jet? But she was used to that, so for her it wouldn't have been some great thing. She did it a whole bunch of times. I think she wanted to create a timeline of them being okay.
Maybe. Or it could have been, okay, she was supposed to go on a trip to Key West with her boyfriend, but then they decided, like, we're doing the murder plot now. And so she wanted to be on that trip to the Bahamas. Like, and she was cut off financially.
But in order
because
for her to
that's the only thing I've seen from him that was, like, not okay in my opinion, is that they have been together all this time, and he tries to literally take everything, including the kids, and leave her with absolutely nothing. That is the only thing that I saw that I was like, man. But you know, it could just be him being extremely hurt, and from what we'll get into a little bit in a minute, apparently even her parents, his parents, him, everyone in her life thought she was totally mentally unstable.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But it's interesting to think, like, it could have been a plot going on for this long. But it's also interesting, the timeline isn't what I thought it was. Because I thought he had hired a PI by now. But no, he's talking about these photographs possibly coming from a PI that he doesn't know about. He doesn't act like he's hired a PI in this call.
Yep.
And in February, he was saying he thought it might lead to a divorce. Well, he didn't actually file for a divorce until after the family trip, and he didn't have a PI yet.
Yep.
So I'm super confused, because in all the articles I read leading up to this, he hired a PI, found out she was cheating, and then filed for divorce. That's not what happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
He got random photos from somebody he doesn't know. Maybe he hired a PI later, but so far I haven't seen any evidence to actually prove he hired a personal investigator or a private investigator.
Yep.
So, I don't know, really strange, but if the plot is legit, what you're talking about right now,
I think it is.
I don't think
really
it's her.
Think it
I
is.
think it's her I think it was all of them working together.
Yep.
And maybe the guy that was supposed to be the hitman, I'm blanking on his name right now. I think is it Farron or is that the boyfriend?
I don't remember, but we talk about it.
Maybe he was getting cut off financially because he was son of a politician. Like, he wasn't no poor boy. Maybe he was. I'm curious to see what comes out about all of their lives and what was going on in their lives at this time.
Their
that
circumstances.
Maybe they needed money. Maybe there was life insurance money that was going to come out of this, and they
with,
thought,
with a woman involved, there doesn't need to be money. We've seen that time and time and time and time
That's
again.
a good point.
I don't need to hear anything about them to believe that she was involved in this. There's no way. I don't think that... Dude, they sent pictures of his location, pictures that he didn't know was being taken.
Yeah.
For somebody to come out and say, she didn't mean it, it was just a joke because she was angry. No, she gave his location.
she meant it.
She gave his location. That is not a joke.
Pictures of him. Yeah, it's not a joke.
Not a joke.
Okay, so fast forward April 30th. This is a couple weeks later. Lindsay calls 911.
Hey, this is Lindsay Shiver. I'm in the middle. I just got off the phone with my divorce attorney. I'm in the middle of a divorce right now, and my kids are being withheld from me. So they're going to my mother-in-law's house who has zero rights. So I was hoping that I could have assistance at her house when I pull up to get my kids.
So there's
That's already manipulative and shady.
It is.
Already, because they're with him, I'm assuming.
They
Not
are.
with his parents.
Well,
they're with him, and he's staying at his parents.
Well, he's not. So he had her kids at her
Their
parents.
kids, you mean?
Yeah. He had their kids at her parents' house, and she didn't go. And she's like, I let them have that time, and then they're supposed to be coming home, and he says, oh, I'm taking them to my parents' house now and dropping them off. And she said, his parents have no rights to my kids. I want my kids home, basically. And now he won't answer the phone. So she actually, basically stalked his parents and then followed them when they were leaving to see if they had her kids. And his parents call 911 and were like, she's got a gun, we know she's armed, and she's following us, and we're scared because she's mentally unstable, and her own parents are telling us to call 911 because of how mentally unstable she is, and we think she's on drugs. So.
Oh, man, dude.
So
see that continued victim.
Yeah, I want to finish listening to these, and then we'll talk about it and move on.
I've been gone all weekend, and my husband just texted me that was the new plan. And, of course, I won't answer the phone.
So who has custody of?
We both do. We haven't gotten that far to a hearing or anything. They've been gone out of town all weekend, and we're in Wiggum 2 minutes ago heading to the house, and then I get the message that now his mother's going to have them, and I'm not okay with that.
Now, this is Robin Shiver, Robert's mother, the mother-in-law, calling 911 on her. All on the same day, same altercation, with Lindsay following them around.
We've got a daughter-in-law who's going through a divorce, and she's following me right now, and I know she does have a pistol possibly in her car, and she is threatening that we will not get to see her kids because my son is on his way back from having been out of town with the kids. Okay, is your call at that location right now? She's on my tail following me right now. And what is her name, ma'am? Lindsay Shiver. S-E-Y? S-A-Y. What kind of vehicle is she in? She's not well. It's a Escalade. It's a black Escalade with black windows, and we're on Pine Tree Boulevard, passing the college right now. And her mother told me to call y'all because they've talked to her, and they said she is really crazy. She's not well, and she's on, I don't know what kind of drugs. How old is she, ma'am? She's 35.
All right. And then Robert calls the same day and talks about the kids because he's doing the same thing he's been doing, calling 911 saying, hey, I just want to let you guys know what's going on because I don't want to look bad. You know what I mean? So he does the same thing.
My wife and I are going through a divorce, and I've been gone all weekend, and she just threatened myself and my mother to bring the kids back, and her mom is saying to take her to the ER and check her into some mental, some institution, because they think she's having kind of a midlife crisis mental breakdown, so it's super unstable, and she just followed my parents when they left the house trying to find the kids, and deputies were called, but since we live in the city, they said we need to call Thomasville City instead of the county.
Okay. Did your parents have the children?
No, the kids are with me.
Nah. So I think that's good.
Whoa.
That gives you the general sense of what's going on. The 911
Whoa.
call of Robert is longer than that. I'm just not going to play it all because we're running a little short on time at this point.
That's wild.
It's interesting. And when I watched all the body cam footage of them pulling over Lindsay and Robin, the mother-in-law. So I watched all the body cam footage from this day. There's 2 police officers. They were with the sheriff department, which actually complicated things more. They actually said they needed to talk to the city police. I don't understand all of that. But Lindsay in it, she doesn't seem like she's having a mental breakdown, if I'm being honest. Like, she doesn't appear that way to me. Like, she has her wits about her. She's extremely manipulative, is what it is. Like, she's extremely, extremely manipulative. I'm curious what kind of threat she made.
I mean, a threat on his life. Or you
No,
mean in this situation?
when she threatened him and the mother-in-law, because Robert said in this 911 call that she threatened them.
The fact that she's following them is a threat. That is a threat.
Well,
that is a physical threat. A threat does not
police-
have to be verbal.
It did seem like the police kind of sided with Lindsay a little bit. They're like, she was just following you to know if the kids were with you.
Yeah.
And now, from now on, if she follows you again, like, you can call the cops, and she shouldn't be doing that anymore. The kids aren't with you, and they tell her, like, the kids are not with her, and they're like, it's not illegal to own a gun.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, what?
No, that's all true. I don't think that's siding with her. This is a bad situation, and those cops did what a lot of cops should do and de-escalate.
Yeah.
That's exactly what should have been done there. So I think, I haven't watched it, but it sounds like, based off what you're saying, they did the right thing. It doesn't necessarily mean they're siding with her, but what Robert should have done is 5150'd her. That would have been calling the police and saying, hey, she's unstable, she's running around with a gun. Let me explain why she's unstable, and if they feel like there's enough evidence to then pick her up because she is she's not safe for herself or others, then they would admit her against her will for 30 days.
That's what Robin was trying to do.
Yes.
That's what the mother-in-law was trying to do. That's what she was trying to explain to the cop, but I feel like they didn't have the language.
Yeah.
Like, Robin specifically didn't have the language to get that across well in the body cam footage, because that's what she was trying to say. Like, I think she's on drugs. Her parents feel like she's mentally unstable and not safe to be around the kids. And
her parents would have been the best one to put that in.
her parents should have called the police themselves and asked for a wellness check and say, we believe she is extremely mentally unstable, possibly on drugs, and we need you to check on her and see if she needs help.
Yeah.
That's exactly what her parents should have done. I don't know if they ever did that. Now, since, I mean, they bailed her out of jail and are buying a piece of property for her to live on while she goes through this trial.
Yeah.
So, I mean, clearly they're supporting their daughter somehow.
Well, they could want her safe and still
held
mentally
accountable and
safe. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, if you got the money to be like, you know what, it's nice down there, we'll buy a home, whatever, while you get that done, and you have the financial ability to do that, I mean, good on you or whatever. She can't leave now from that area. She has to stay down there according to the rules and being arrested and everything, since she's being charged down there. But they could still want her 5150'd and do all those things. Both of those things can be true simultaneously, you know?
Yeah, they can be. So
Gosh,
we got
this is
April 12th,
interesting.
the stray strange package with the USB drive with all the pictures of Lindsay. April 30th, well, April 5th, earlier that month was the divorce. April 30th is this 911 call. Then July 16th is the body cam footage we saw outside their home when they're fighting about the private jet and going down to the Bahamas.
Yep.
And then that's this literally, that's what sealed it for me. That was the same day she texted kill him.
Yeah.
Was that day while she was trying to get on a flight to the Bahamas.
Yep.
Meaning they were probably going to try to carry out the killing while during that trip.
Yeah.
And the cops literally got there in the nick of time.
Yeah.
Literally.
Correct.
Which is insane.
Yes, I don't think this is a joke. I think that this was planned, and I think it was planned months ahead of time, and we're going to continue to see more details come out. Like, this investigation's ongoing, okay? It's not like they're like, oh, snap my fingers, we have everything we need to show everybody. No, it's going to slowly come out as they find stuff. But I believe that this has probably been in motion or planned for 6 months.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And they're just waiting for the right
So
time.
what, you
So there
think
can be
since-
liquid plans where, depending on what happens in the future, is when it's going to happen. So they wouldn't be 6 months ago. All right, so let's set our clocks, and we're going to do it 6 months from this Monday.
No, they just
you know
began
what I mean?
talking about it,
Correct.
thinking about it.
Yep.
Because February is the first thing we hear of divorce, like
Yep.
even thinking about divorce. So there were troubles before that,
Correct.
clearly.
Yep.
So, and she had that solo trip in February too.
Yep.
So it's like, how long was she thinking about this? Like,
Yep.
did she find this new man and think, God, I don't want Robert, but I don't want to, like, not have my kids, and I know the kind of man he is, and if I'm out with some other dude, he might, like, try to take everything and, you know, leave me with this guy, and then
Yep.
I won't have any money, and I want the money still, and I want the kids still, but just not him.
Or maybe she really was losing it and didn't even think about
I
things.
wonder
in
if she
that
literally had
pros
this
and cons.
fantasy of having her life exactly the same, but just replacing the man.
The husband, yeah.
Is
yeah.
what I
It's very
think.
possible, which is an unstable idea and thought, and could lead to some insanity and horrible decisions like this. Yeah.
It's just a terrible, horrible, disgusting thing to do to your whole family.
I
Especially your
agree.
children. Especially. Like, you have been a part of this family, the in-laws, everybody that is involved in this family for years, and you're going to kill, like, a beloved family member, an idol for your children, the only father figure they'll ever have, or, like, real
Again,
father.
I agree. I've said this in multiple cases that I do not see how you could get rid of your kids' parents regardless how bad it is. One of the other parents. That is
Well,
insane.
how bad your relationship is. Like, now, if they're an abusive, disgusting person, I could see a little bit more, you know?
Yeah, I guess.
But rather just send them to jail, maybe?
Your kids would immediately hate you.
Well, July 21st, so July 16th is that body cam and 911 call, and then the text and kill him, and then July 21st is when she was arrested. It's such a short timeline.
I know.
It's so short. It's
I
crazy.
know.
But I feel like those 911 calls uncovered a lot.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of what was going on here.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Robert could feel it. He just didn't know what it was.
Yep.
That's probably why they thought she was going insane. What if she wasn't going insane and they just felt like that because they're like, this isn't Lindsay.
Yep.
Like, this is a different person. Because she's with this new guy and planning to literally murder Robert. So they're getting this disconnected, sneaky, totally different person than they've ever known
Yeah.
before. I guess you could argue that's instability, but I don't know.
I mean, the fact that she made all these decisions is unstable. Absolutely.
I guess, but would you argue every person ever that tries to kill somebody is unstable?
Absolutely. 100% I would. Yes.
Yeah, but what if they, like, are a sociopath? Then are they
Yes,
technically unstable?
Yes. That is not normal.
Okay.
Unstable.
Yeah. I'm just like, I always try to think, like, if they're intentional, then I don't know if you can just chalk it up to instability. But that's all I got on Lindsay Shiver.
Let us know what you think.
Yeah, let us know if this uncovered as much for you as it did for me, because this case is insane, and I know more is going to be coming out.
Yeah, absolutely.